The knitting is done here. And then we began to weave the collar. When the collar is knitting, it is knitting an upper needle. 1 needle twist needle. So each circle is a repeat, needle on needle. 1 needle twist needle. Let's take a look. First, the first stitch is woven onto the needle. Now the top half of the needle is passed in from the bottom up. Then wind the wire. Hook the line out and turn it over. The upper needle is knitted. Next the thread is placed back under the needle. Knitting a needle with a downward twist needle. Then twist the needle down here when knitting. We milk from the top down. This thread, when winding, you should wrap it from the needle down. Hook it out. Turning it over, that's how you knit with a downward twist needle. When twisting the needle here, in front of us, the winding direction of the lower needle is different. You must be careful not to knit it wrong here. And look at the needle. Knitted needle. Put the thread back under the needle. Change to downward twist needle is passed in from above the coil. Wrap this thread from the top down. Hook it out and let it go. Repeat now, needle on top, needle on top. The needle placed by the thread is twisted from bottom to bottom. Wrap from top to bottom and hook out. Then the next lap is repeated later. Needle on needle. 1 needle twist needle. We use the same method. Weave this circle all the way to the end. Take another look. Needle on needle. 1 needle twist needle. Twist needle ends below last stitch. So the first circle of our collar is woven. Moving on to lap 2. The same weaving. 1 needle up, 1 needle down. Let's take a look again. Now stitch on the needle. First stitch, knit on the needle. While knitting, the stitch between half needle and half needle we must tighten up. Just pull this thread a little tighter. So after this place is woven, his gap will be smaller. Then twist the needle under the needle where the thread is put back. So here we have to pay attention when threading the needle. Meaning we penetrate this coil. The front thread. Knitting twist needle. And then needle after needle after needle after thread. Wire put back the needle down to twist the needle down. Through this coil. The thread in front is twisted down the needle. Needle on needle, wound on thread. Twist the needle under 1 stitch. Penetrate into the front of the coil. It goes from top to bottom. Hook it out. So this is our second spin, then our collar. Then I will repeat this to knit. Knitting all the way to us. The required collar height is enough. Children, we need to knit. The collar is about 3 centimeters. Adults need to knit a collar of about 4 centimeters. So here is the height we will need. Let's take a look after knitting. Now our collar. It has been woven to the required height. Let's measure. The size in the video is the size of a child. We just knit a collar height of about 3 centimeters. It starts at the edge of the collar. The measured height is nearly 3 centimeters. If you want a higher collar, we can also knit 1 or 2 more loops. Then we will directly change the color. Change the color scheme to weave. Here we use color scheme to weave. If it is a woven solid color model, we can just go directly to collect the needle. So here we use a color scheme on the edge of the collar. To knit, we'll put this color scheme. Tie it directly with the main color line. After we tie this knot, this connector is exactly where the bottom edge is. Let's tighten it up a little bit. Because next we need to use this color scheme to knit. Here we disconnect the main color from it. The color scheme, we just need to weave a circle. This circle is being woven, and the previous weaving method exactly the same. 1 needle up, 1 needle down, twist needle. Here we are now on the needle. Needle on needle. And the thread goes back under the needle. The same weaving method as twisting the needle under 1 stitch. Penetrate from above the line. Wrap from top to bottom and hook out. In this way, 1 needle on the needle and 1 needle under the twist needle are completed. Now needle on needle on needle. Twist and fold straight down under the needle where the thread is placed back. Fold the thread straight up on the needle. The truth about line orientation. Just twist down. And we're going to do it again and again. Our color scheme. You just knit a circle. After this circle is woven, we're going to learn how to do this again. So now we have a color scheme. It's done. Our color scheme here. You just knit a circle. And we started to roll over the needles. When receiving the needle, we collect according to this texture. See upper needle texture, knit lower needle. See the lower needle texture, knit on the needle. Knitting opposite stitches, let's take a look. The first stitch is the upper stitch texture and we knit the lower stitch. Penetrate from top to bottom. The next needle is to wrap the thread from the bottom up. Hook it out. That's needle under needle. After the first knitting is done, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag this coil onto the needle. After the needle is removed, put the thread on the needle and put it back on. Like this. It's like we're winding this thread around the needle. Then the second stitch is a stitch texture. We weave needles. Thread the needle from the bottom up. Winding hook out. Turn over the needle in the right hand and 2 coils appear on it. We're going to pull this coil off here. So we take away one shot, then repeat later. Also drag this coil to the needle. Put the thread under the needle and put it back. Knit one more needle. Take the previous stitch off. Remove one stitch on the right and repeat the drag stitch. Put the thread up and put it back on. So this is one needle down. In it we knit needles. After folding, 2 coils appear on the needle of the right hand. We're going to take the previous stitch away. Then drag the needle and thread and send it down. Put it back on. This is a stitch-on-stitch texture. We knit needles. Don't lose weight. Good now. The good one. Thread under needle. Lower needle. Repeated deneedle. The Constitution is supreme. Send the needle and thread. Knit the needles, then we will close the needles in this circle. It's all repeated this method to close the needle, and we were knitting it for him right up to this point. Let's take a look again. This place in the middle, we don't do repetition. Come back after knitting. Last stitch to last stitch. Don't lose weight. Then put this coil deneedle thread down. Then here are the positions of the last and first stitches. There will be a gap in this place. We need to make it up. So again, we apply the first needle to this one, corresponding to this braid above. That is, pick up the top. Thread it through this place and give it a re-needle. Lower needle. Take the previous stitch off. Go and pick a needle like this. There is no hookoo in this place. We pull this coil.